Good morning, everyone. My name's Peter Gammons, and this event is one of my favorite times of my favorite weekend of the whole year. Extremely important time for baseball, and I've said this to some of the players that were inducted. But as Tom Seaver always has said to me, this is the most unique club in America because you can't buy your way in, you can't be born into it. It's strictly based on merit and achievement and relationships. And I think in that way, the celebration of this weekend, it's just being with people in the hotel lobby and around in the town during the week is one of those things that, for me, who now 72 years old, I grew up loving the game. I've been in it for covering it for 45, 47 years. It's a tremendous thing, and as I think all of you know, this is one of the great museums in America, a great museum of American history, and I think we should all be very proud to be here. One thing that fascinates me for all the inductees, and we'll go around starting with you, John, is I think all of you talked about the relationships that you build up over the years in baseball. And I'm curious, was there a moment where you had a relationship reunited yesterday that was really meaningful to you?
Well, my relationships I talked about yesterday when I started my career in 1966 with my hometown Baltimore Orioles. I had the opportunity to work for Frank Cashin and Harry Dalton and Lou Gorman. And as you know, Lou and I became not only workmates, but we became great friends. And although he is not with us any longer, he died too suddenly, but the friendship and the relationship that he and I shared is so deep in my heart. And for many, many of the hours I spent here on this beautiful campus in Cooperstown and at the Otasaga, I've thought about Lou and the relationship that we had. And I know how he feels about me being here now. I was his assistant for years. We kept our friendship alive, and it's still alive in my heart. And I think about he and, of course, all the great baseball people beyond Lou who helped me get to this point today.
Timmy, was there someone yesterday that you reunited with that was really a special moment for you?
For me, it was Randy Johnson. You know, Randy was drafted by the Expos. He got up to the big leagues for a short period of time, and then he was traded, and our relationship kind of went in opposite directions. Got a chance to face him a couple times in the big leagues, but you know, when he was first there, we had a pretty cool relationship, and then I didn't see him for 20-something years after that. So just being able to see him, get to hang out with him like we used to do back in the day when we were in our 20s, for me, that was special.
That was cool. Pudge?
Well, for me, obviously, I was happy to see Nolan Ryan and
Sorry. Told you guys yesterday.
well, that's what I was just gonna say, right?
Yeah, I told you. I wasn't lying.
See Nolan Ryan, obviously, see Johnny Bench, my hero growing up. But yesterday, when we were in the ceremony, just seeing all the Hall of Famers behind us, it was an incredible moment. And later on, when we finished the ceremony, when we went to dinner, I said to Jeff and I were sitting together, and I look and I said to Jeff, what a room we are today. This is unbelievable. Yeah. You see Hank Aaron and see all the Hall of Famers, and it was an incredible. And by the way, I want to say I'm the rookie, and I'm the youngest. How about that? The youngest in the Hall of Fame. It was great. I have a great time, and just to be, it's nice for me to be part of the Hall of Fame family, and it was a great night last night, Peter.
Jeff?
A couple things. I think it was very cool for me to have my two brothers come in, who I don't see very much, to be with my father and me. Just because it's a special moment to get everybody together. That doesn't happen very often. You know, he's in North Carolina, my brothers are in Florida, and I'm in Texas. So I didn't get a chance to see them, and just to share that with them was a very special moment. But I also, these four other guys here, you know, we didn't know each other that great until we got inducted. Being here, we knew we were going to be here together. I've known Bud and I've known John before. We'd met, obviously, with the Braves, and these two guys. Playing baseball against them to finally find out what they are as people. And I got four new friends that I didn't have before, and we're going to be forever linked in 2017. And that's a neat feeling, you know, to us to be together.
Mr. Selig, the same question for you.
Well, Peter, yesterday brought a lot of memories. Incidentally, John Schuerholz and I said the same thing to each other when we look around the room. Look at this. And it's, and remember, I've done this now for 20-some years, and I've given, but being in this position was remarkable. Yesterday, Peter, and you and I have known each other now 45-plus years. Mm-hmm. And just brought back a lot of memories for me. People being there, it's very meaningful for me to be in the Hall of Fame, particularly with Henry Aaron and Robin Yount, and I obviously go back with Henry 58 years, and Robin, well, now it's 40 or 42 years, and so, but all the people that helped me along the way, and what I call a long journey, and yesterday was sort of the culmination point of that, and I can't help but tell you what a remarkable day it is, and I too, I want to express the same thing. How much I've enjoyed, and you find out how much in common you have with people we've known. Tim and I had an interesting conversation about Jim Fanning, for instance, which brings back a lot of remarkable memories, and so this is a real pleasure, and we are linked forever in the class of 2017.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Tim, knowing you, knowing your son, knowing your relationship with him, what was it like when you kind of looked around and looked over and saw Andre? You were on the same stage as Andre Dawson.
Oh my God. You know, I just remember coming here 2 other times. I came here for Gary Carter induction, and I was there for Dawson induction. And I remember him, and even in his speech, he acknowledged that I should be there, or should be there with him. And we just have a special relationship, I think. It's more like he was my big brother, but it's more than friends. I mean, it seems like we've been linked forever since the first time we met, even though I got all over him yesterday about a lot of things. But that's how cool we are. I mean, you know, we know it's never serious. I mean, it's always in laughs. We joke around about him beating me around, and that's true, but, you know, I always knew back in those days if I hit him, I could run, he would never catch me. So, but, you know, in seriousness, that's a relationship that will never end. And being here now, you know, on the same team as him for eternity now, it's only fitting that it was great for me to have the opportunity of met him, one, but also to be a teammate of his, and now be the biggest teammate here in the Hall of Fame.
Pudge, you know, it was great for all the people from Texas. And it was great to see Jim Leland and so forth here for you. But going back over your career, for all those thousands of games you caught in 100-degree heat in Arlington, was 2003 your biggest year because of the World Series? And do you remember Josh Beckett saying that we won this World Series for one reason, what you did with those young pitchers like him and A.J. Burnett?
Well, that's great from just to say that. When I signed in 2003, I just signed for 1 year, and basically it took me obviously 13 years to win a World Series, which is, the question is, it was one of my best years, obviously, because when you win a World Series, it's not an individual award; it's just a team effort that we all work hard since spring training all the way into October, which is 6, 7 months, 8 months of grind on the field and play hard. And basically, these guys was tremendous listeners. They was with me all the time. Sit down. We talk a lot about baseball. We're talking about learning how to pitch. As Burnett and Beckett, they're all power pitchers. Throwing 98, 99. But to me, I don't care if he throws 99. If he throws the ball right in the middle, I always say to him, look, you can throw 99, but if you throw it right in the middle, it's going to be 500 feet. Right, Jeff?
That's right.
You like 99, huh?
That's perfect.
Straight like a 14. There you go. So there you go.
I could have hit it that far.
You're okay. But, basically, the one thing that I told these guys when I got in, I said, I'm going to teach you how to stay down in a way, make sure you use both sides of the plate, and mix your secondary pitches. And I think that was the key for Beckett. He started to land there. He started to learn how to pitch inside, throw fastballs away, and use that very good breaking ball that he has at the time. And I was very happy at the end of the season because my job was so good that every single starter that year, their ERA went 1.5 points from last year. So to me, that's my job. To me, that's the way that I want them to do their job. And it doesn't matter my offensive part of the game. I always believe that my defensive part of the game, as long as it's there and as long as the pitchers feels comfortable with me behind the plate, that's what I care about. And we did that the whole year, and what Josh did in the World Series, back-to-back shutout with 3 days rest and win Game 6 in New York in Yankee Stadium and win the World Championship. That's a job, to be done. I did a great job, watching him having a great year and see Judge, pitching Game 6 and win the World Series there. That was a very good moment for me in my career.
Jeff, you and Craig Biggio had unique careers in that you played your whole career, not only together, but for one city. Now that you're... Now, I know you obviously chose to live in Houston, and you had a great career then. But yesterday, with all the people from Houston here, and with wearing all the Bagwell gear and everything, did you just sort of think at all about the relationship that you now have with Houston, Texas?
Yeah, it's absolutely been wonderful. Craig and I used to talk, once we got to around 2000, we used to talk about the stands, and you see kids walking up and down the aisles with either a 5 or a 7 on their back. And to spend 15 years there, it's something in today's day and age. It's very, very hard to do. It's always, it's not about the money, but really it's about the money for both sides. And it is, and that's what we were very, very fortunate. Craig and I really talked about staying with Houston for our entire career, but it also comes down to the ownership too. They have to want us to stay too. And Drayton, with Craig and I, kept us there. And the city is such a big part of us. You guys travel real well, and I totally appreciate it. Really do. And what I said yesterday on stage, I truly mean. if Craig and I or the Astros as a whole did something for your lives to bring you guys together, to come to the ballpark, to watch on TV, whether good or bad, you know, there was something that could bring families together in Houston and talk about good things, because it's tough out there right now, as everybody knows. And you know, the Astros and, you know, Craig and myself, I think have brought some fun to the organization and to the community. It's fun to watch now, so I'm glad to be part of it.
That's great. John, as you've watched the Braves evolve, and you're still involved with them, and everybody respects so much what you've done in the sport. Does your heart still pound a lot when the Braves are playing? Doesn't matter who they're playing, you know, Phillies or whatever. You still have that intensity when you watch the games?
Every day. I'm 76 years old. I've been in a game 50 years, and the first thing I do before I go to bed is check the box scores, check the line scores. First thing I do in the morning when I wake up is hit my phone, check the results of the score if I'm not watching the game, or if I happen to fall asleep a little early before the game's over, I have to admit. But anyway, I know my heart still beats with baseball. And I want to make a point that Jeff made earlier too, if I may, and that is my two brothers are here. They live in Baltimore. That's where we grew up. And my dad was a professional baseball player, minor league baseball player. That gene unfortunately skipped my generation, and my son became a professional baseball player and played 6 years in the minor leagues and coached and managed, as you know, and Jonathan's here and all my family's here, and to be able to share that. And they have a heartbeat of baseball just as much and as deep and as profound as I do. And to have them here with me to share this magnificent moment for me and with them means the world to me.
But you know, for all the years you put in and all the work, and especially coming out of the strike, and as baseball was rebuilt under your tenure, what is greater for you, seeing players that played for you be in the Hall of Fame, or just sitting there on that stage yesterday and looking around at Robin and Paul and people like that?
It's really meaningful. When you think the Brewers are only 47 years old, which is young by comparison to some franchises, and they've been running a lot of really wonderful video this year of the history, and you watch Yount, Molitor, Aaron, Fingers, brings back so many great memories. And I'm fascinated listening to these guys, because that is, it isn't trite to say, there is something so engaging about this sport. There is something so that binds communities together. Jeff just talked about it a little bit, and it's absolutely true. And so I know what my election has meant to the Brewers, and particularly to people in Milwaukee, because it's a reflection of the history in their community. So there's two quick answers. You look around the hall, as these guys already said. I said to John last December, we were sitting in Washington after we had been nominated and obviously going to be elected. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Stan Musial, and you and me. Wow.
Who knew? Who knew?
Oh, that's a so. Peter, the only thing I can say on behalf of my family and my wife and everybody involved, this really is, I didn't think anything could overwhelm me anymore. This really is overwhelming. Yes. No question about it. I mean, I don't mind telling you, I'm beat this morning, but in a really good way.
All right.
And Peter, I want to take this moment just to say one thing to Bob, and I want to say thank you, Bob, for everything you did in baseball and as a commissioner, and all those years, all those hard years that you work and bring baseball the way it is today. So I think on behalf of me and these guys right here and all baseball, thank you for everything you did.
Peter, if I could just add one quick thing. Thank you, Pudge, very much. But so here we are. done something now that nobody thought we could do. 27 years of labor peace. The sport more popular than ever, drawing more than ever, players doing better than ever as it should, owners doing better than ever. So the spirit of cooperation, which was not there for a long time, the last 20 years now, everybody's done better. Most importantly, the greatest game in the world.
Very good.
Amen.
I can attest to that because I do believe I wasn't old enough to remember the coldest winter in Korea, but I do remember the coldest winter of my life was 94, 95, and I appreciate Don Fear's piano playing ability, but sitting there listening to it at 3:30 in the morning is not one of my highlights of my life.
I'll share that. But
Well, I also remember how miserable you were. I mean, so I remember that very well. Tim, this is a question from a fan in Montreal, and I love the fact that we've, when former Expos get into the Hall of Fame, the people come down. It's a tremendous thing. I mean, I love that city and that ballpark. But do you believe, this is a fan from a fan, but do you believe that baseball can thrive again in Montreal?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. When Charles Bronfman brought baseball to Montreal, obviously it was certainly new to Canada. I mean, I think everyone knows that hockey is the biggest sport in Canada, but baseball, when the Expos came to Montreal, it brought baseball, and people kind of had to learn what baseball was all about. And it took, a couple of years. So, but by the time I got there in '79, it had took off. I mean, we were averaging 30, 40,000 fans a night, and I'm sure there's some Expos fans out here now, but they cheered different from any other fans, and I really mean that in a way that was awesome for me. I mean, they inspired me to put on my uniform and go out each and every day and try to wow them. It was just so, I think it was exciting for them to come see me play, but it was just exciting for me, for them to come and show me that they enjoyed seeing me doing what I do. So, I mean, I didn't get the opportunity yesterday to say how important it was for me to play in Montreal those first 12 years, because I think without being there and, obviously having the teammates that I had, but being a part of that city and a part of, the fan base that they had, it was phenomenal, and it prepared me and propelled me to do a lot of the things that I was able to do on the baseball field.
Yeah, Pudge, it seems to me that the last year or so has been tremendous for Puerto Rico and baseball, with Correa and Lindor and all the young players. In the WBC, the tremendous success that they had in the WBC. Being here, is that really important for you coming from that country?
Yes, absolutely. I'm very happy and proud to say that I'm the fourth Puerto Rican in the Hall of Fame. And when you see the names that are already there, Roberto Clemente, Orlando Cepeda, Roberto Lomar, and myself, knowing that we came from that little island, only 100 miles by 35, and having four Hall of Famers here in Cooperstown, that tells you how much we love baseball in Puerto Rico. And and you see the guys that are in close, the superstars that they are already in baseball right now, and the talent that is in Puerto Rico right now. I think if we go to Puerto Rico, you see kids everywhere in every stadium playing baseball. It's because that's our #1 sport in Puerto Rico, and they're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep growing, and it's gonna be, and I think it's gonna be more very good players like Correa, Lindor's coming up. But I'm very happy just to say that I'm a Puerto Rican. And I'm proud. I love my island, and I'm very happy to be a Hall of Famer here in Cooperstown, and know that I came from that beautiful small island in Puerto Rico. So I like it. Really happy for that.
That's great. So Jeff, you won't be surprised by this question, but one of the questions is about how did your batting stance evolve? I don't think it was that when I watched you in the Cape Cod League home run hitting contest.
No, right there. See it there? Over there?
Yeah, that's horrible. I'm not so sure how that came about. That's the end of my career. That doesn't look very good. What happened, I was messing around with my stance for a few years. I've always messed with my stance. Maybe that's why I like Yastrzemski so much, because he did it too. But, I never really felt comfortable. And, in this game, you're always, failing, so you're always trying to find something. Nobody's ever gone 1,000 for 1,000, so you just keep working as hard as you can. And my thing, I watched one of the greatest hitters that ever lived in Tony Gwynn, and he was spread out a little bit. And obviously he did pretty well. So I said, okay, well, I'll try and spread out a little bit. And then I spread out, and then I started stepping up and backwards, and my hands were dropping, but yet it worked. And Tony Gwynn signed the bat to me one day. He said, to Jeff, keep the same stance. Because he was watching me in the outfield doing all that kind of stuff. And so I continued to try that and try to, work at it different off seasons, try and do different things. But that was my safety net, was that swing. And man, I wouldn't teach that to anybody. So don't ever do that. I'm okay with the spreading out part, but don't teach the rest.
Was there a time when you actually thought about giving it up?
Oh God, plenty of times. Especially before I got to that. I was doing so many different things, but it just came down to being comfortable. And when you hit, that's the most important thing, is you're comfortable what you're doing. If I'm thinking about my legs or my hands or anything like that, then I'm thinking about too many things instead of hitting a baseball. So there was always that possibility. I changed bats, different lengths, different weights, and always came back to the same bat and the same stance.
It's good. John, the one thing that I found really interesting, and it was funny, when you were in the lobby the other day, I mentioned that I did actually know about it, but I wasn't allowed to break the story because Mr. Gillick has called me up and said, who is the best dressed executive in baseball? Wow. And did you know that he's going to Atlanta? And I said, you mean John Schuerholz is going to Atlanta? But what surprised you most when you took that jump from Kansas City, where you had won a world championship and been part of one of the most successful expansion teams in history? What surprised you most when you got to Atlanta and got with Bobby Cox and started building that organization even further?
There were two things that stood out. One, the work that Bobby Cox as general manager had done, building the organization back through scouting and player development with Paul Snyder and Roy Clark and all those great scouts down there. So when I did my due diligence about leaving that IBM, that rock of a franchise in Kansas City, to go to Atlanta, I looked at and see what they had in their minor league system, and I saw richness. But what I also found was a profound lack of organizational pride and personal pride. And so I made it my particular and individual effort to build that pride, to build in the organization and with the people in the organization, so that they would be proud putting on their Braves jackets, their Braves hats. And that caught on, and it caught on in the community. We won that first year, got into the World Series and played the Twins, two worst of first teams, by the way. And we got that done. And it just ignited and ignited and ignited. And these great people in Atlanta who did their jobs in scouting and player development kept the pipeline filled, and we went on to win a World Championship in '95.
Would you say there's a question for fans about what was the best deal. I'm just going to ask you about one that I thought was one of the most memorable trades of my tenure in baseball. Was the Fred McGriff trade arguably your best trade?
No doubt about it. I mean, Fred McGriff, we had a bunch of guys up and down our lineup who tried to be fourth place hitters. They were great hitters in the second hole or third hole or fifth hole or sixth, but they were all trying to be the fourth place hitter. When we got Freddie, put him in the lineup, by the way, that's the night the stadium caught on fire, and so too did our team and our organization. He hit 2 home runs, and we were off and running. Fred McGriff was easily the best acquisition for me.
That's great.
Free agent acquisition was Greg Maddux. Trade acquisition was Freddie McGriff.
Well, I'm told that the time is up here, so it's been great for me to be with five men that I've known for a long time and admired greatly, and I hope all of you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.